President Trump speaking on a wide range of issues, most recently saying he's an environmentalist and wants clean air and water in this country. Speaking about China, he said he wants that China wants to make a deal very badly. Joining us now, Yahoo Finance's Jessica Smith, who has been monitoring that conference with some of the highlights. There were a lot of them, Jess. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I think we have to talk about China first, because that's what everyone has been focused on since the president said that China called and said they wanted to come back to the negotiating table. Now, reporters really pushed him on that during this press conference, asking for more details about these calls that Chinese officials have reportedly denied happened. The president said that that China did call, he said, and then he said that there was a statement from the vice premier, and that was what he was referring to at one point when a reporter pushed him to clarify if there was a call or if he got a breaking news alert about the vice premier's statement, what happened. We saw Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin actually jump in and say there had been communication back and forth. So I think there's still some confusion over what actually happened, what conversations happened between the administration and China. So we'll be looking for more details on that. But regardless, the president says that they do want to make a deal. And he was asked by a reporter if he believes China is sincere about that, and here's what he had to say.
China has taken a very hard hit over the last number of months. They've lost 3 million jobs. It'll soon be much more than 3 million jobs. Their chain is breaking. The chain is breaking up like nobody's seen before, and once that happens, it's very hard to put it back together. You understand? I think they very much want to make a deal, and the longer they wait, the harder it is to put it back.
Now, he was also asked about his conflicting messaging about China. You know, we've heard him call President Xi an enemy and then call him a friend. It's been a lot of back and forth. So a reporter pressed him on that, and he just said, sorry, that's the way I negotiate, and it's worked out for me before. We also heard from French President Emmanuel Macron, and he said that he's encouraging both sides to come to a deal and make a trade agreement. He said uncertainty is bad for the world economy, and again, encouraging both sides to come to the table there. A couple other quick highlights that the president hit. Auto tariffs. He said that he is not considering tariffs on Japanese autos at the moment, but he did say he could later on. He also said that he hopes to make a trade deal with the EU without having to resort to auto tariffs. But again, he said we might have to, we might not. He also talked about Iran. He said he would be open to a meeting with the Iranian president if there were certain circumstances that were met. The French president is trying to work out a deal where the two sides would meet and talk about resolving their differences. They both said that the bottom line is Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, but they're working on organizing a meeting to deal with that situation. But yeah, a lot of different headlines there. Also, the digital tax. The French president said that they have come to an agreement on a digital tax. The president was asked if he would confirm that he is not considering tariffs on French wine. He declined to comment on that, just saying that First Lady Melania Trump did enjoy French wine. He left it at that. So a lot of other topics we'll keep an eye on, and we'll let you know if we hear any more updates from the president.
Thank you very much, Jess. Appreciate it. And we are joined now by today's panel. I should mention my co-anchor Adam Shapiro is off today, but we have Yahoo Finance's editor-in-chief Andy Serwer, not too shabby, and Brian Sozzi as well. Thank you guys for joining me here. So obviously, as Jess pointed out, a lot of different issues touched on in that. Is anybody buying today because they think there's going to be a deal on China? That's what the president is signaling? I find that hard to believe.
I mean, it almost seems that the president had that in mind when he started talking about these phone calls, Julie. And, you know, the question in my mind is, you know, he was saying there were some phone calls. The Chinese are saying not really. And, you know, the question then is, what's a phone call? And so I guess the question to President Trump would be, because I think there's always ongoing conversations, were the conversations that took place overnight more than the normal amount or more than the amount that have been going on over the past several weeks? That's the real question. And so the market is up based on people perceiving that it was a step forward. And of course, it's very hard to know whether that's the case.
Right. I mean, you have to wonder whether we're any closer to a deal today than we were on Friday when the market was down.
There's a lot to unpack here, Julie, but I think if you're trading this market and you've waded back into the waters from the Friday bloodbath, you heard three things that are at least short-term bullish. Potential deal with the EU, that is good. Potential deal with Iran, whether you can believe it or not, that's how the market is interpreting it. That's pretty positive. And then reiterating the comments he said regarding China, whether you can believe it or not, the market and the machines are still liking it.
I think not.
But I should add with Brian, though, the one positive, though, that you have to take away from that in defense of President Trump is that at least he's talking that way, right? In other words, because he could be saber rattling. And so,
he's talking that way for now, but the next moment could bring something
I'm just buying and selling securities today, Julie. Okay, and so based on that, I mean, this is not a long-term investor conversation. I would say, but I would say the long-term things, with Warren Buffett, like America is a great place to invest. That's the very long. And then the shorter term is, well, maybe it's not a great time to own stocks because President Trump is president. And then the shorter thing is, yeah, but today's a good day because he's talking, he's put the saber away.
And it's a different tone than we heard on Friday, which led to the market sell-off.